So when I first called you talking about Kratom, this was obviously something you're passionate about.
That is correct.
Why is that?
Well, I think my biggest concern with Kratom is that from what I'm seeing, I come across thousands and thousands of addicts and consumers of drugs and alcohol. And the way I'm looking at Kratom, what I'm witnessing is if you're an opiate addict and you want to withdraw from the drug opiate, Kratom is a great product to use to alleviate the pain associated with opiate withdrawal. And it's very inexpensive, it's easy to get, easy to use, and basically within 5 days you can be withdrawn from opiates using Kratom, pretty much pain-free. And it's like you have a leafy substance versus shooting up a drug that may or may not kill you. To me, it's a no-brainer. And why people want to beat people up like this is beyond my comprehension. I don't get it. Something's wrong about that. Big dog beating up on the little guy, and that offends me. Also, I do notice that because addicts like to substitute one form of user for another, like they like to go from prescription drugs to alcohol, from alcohol to prescription drugs, all legally bought and prescribed products, they substitute one form of user for another. So if you already have the addiction gene, yes, you could be susceptible to abusing Kratom, just like you would tobacco, alcohol, opiates. So there's a portion of the population that will be addicted no matter what drug they use. But the main percentage of Kratom consumers, they're not addicts, they're not addictive users, they're normal users, they use it for regular reasons. So, and I think that should be the message. But no, we have all these agencies that have financial gain giving their input, and they're actually creating policy that the taxpayers are going to pay for, and it's wrong. So I'm against special interests driving policy for Kratom. It's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Now, I reached out to the Virginia Department of Health, and they said that it's not as on their radar, I should say, because there have been 5 Kratom deaths over a series of 5 years. It's not as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as fatal.
Not as toxic or fatal. I think if you really dig down and do the research on these alleged Kratom deaths, you'll find that most of them is fake news. It really is not Kratom death. There's other factors on why and how people die, most of them. Is it possible 1 out of 20 million can die from Kratom? I would expect that could be possible. But my God, how many people are dying from other drugs? You got more people dying from peanut oil than you do Kratom, for sure. So there's so many products out there that you could be allergic to that could affect you. But I would say Kratom is probably, from what I can tell, the least dangerous product on earth compared to all these other products that can kill you. And it's just another way of hyping something to justify outlawing something so you can fill up jails and prisons, because that's what the end result's going to be.
So it is legal here in Virginia, though.
It is legal to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and
it is.
It is not. There is no current legislation, at least that I'm aware of.
Well, it pops up periodically. There has been passed legislation to try to mess with Kratom in Virginia as well as in America. You know, in Washington right now, the FDA and DEA, they're trying to invent some sort of negative law here that's only going to affect good people for no other reason than they're trying to justify their existence. You know, more pathetic policy that's going to hurt good people that the taxpayers are going to pay for.
So are you hoping that it becomes FDA approved?
Well, I would, smart money would say, do the research, but in the meantime, let people consume it and survey what's taking place. We have people in the room here today that are actually doing a survey that have shown 100% of the surveys had a benefit from using Kratom to detox from opiates, and probably 90% successfully detox from opiates.
Well, that's why I asked about the FDA, which leads me to why I think they're letting me do this story today, because it's recently popped up again as having been linked to the most recent salmonella outbreak. And many people are saying, well, if it were FDA approved, there might be a way of avoiding that.
Salmonella outbreak, but there's more salmonella outbreaks in Mexican tomatoes than there will ever be for the next 100 years with Kratom. So let's get real about salmonella outbreaks. Lettuce, tomatoes, grapes, peanut butter, wherever there's food and there's processing and packing, there's going to be salmonella outbreak. Kratum is the least amount of salmonella outbreaks I've ever heard of on any products ever. So that's just more hype and myth and more crap, as you might say, to justify these agencies' existence. You know, they need to leave the people alone and these products alone that aren't doing anybody any harm, but actually helping people. They conflict with other industries, and there lies the problem.
So are you concerned at all, and maybe the better question for now is, have you yourself used Kratum before?
I've never had a need to use it, you know, and would I use it one day if I ever felt it would help me? In a heartbeat. I would pick up Kratum before I would go see a pain doctor for other pain. When I get old, I would sure like that to be an option. But as of right now, I have no need for it.
Yeah. Well, then maybe once I get someone who has used it, my next question would then be if this recent salmonella outbreak concerns you, because the CDC is saying avoid it, whether you're...
Well, I think, yeah, anytime you have a salmonella outbreak on a product, you know, whether it be ice cream or lettuce or tomatoes, yeah, you want to look for the batch number, avoid it, and go to a clean batch. I mean, that's common sense.
Right, but
not
because
an idiot.
it's not regulated right now, that's a concern. You can't figure out which batch number it would be to avoid.
Yeah, but it's with, yeah, I don't think the Kratum importers are opposed to regulations. I mean, I think actually they support, you know, healthier, cleaner ways of regulating things, making for 18 and older, stuff like that. I think the industry's behind regulation, but they're opposed to Schedule 1 and Kratum like they do heroin. That's ridiculous. That's the most absurd thing I've ever seen or heard in my life. I mean, only a moron would want to do that. And that's what you're dealing with these agencies. They're inventing policies that flood the criminal justice system. That's where this is going to end one day.
Yeah. Well, I think that covers it on that end. I think, unless there's something else you wanted to add that I didn't ask.
Well, I think the biggest thing to add here is the media needs to do their role, but do it right. You know, it's nice to have a little lead-in moment here, Alex, for a future special, as you might say, but make sure you cover it all. Because the truth is, it's a decent, legitimate product that doesn't need to be demonized or criminalized in the media. It actually needs to be properly, you know, promoted and talked about.
Well, that's why I'm here. I've been trying to do something on it, and I think this could potentially start.
Yeah, and look who's opposed to it. Pharma, bureaucracies, bureaucratic agencies that depend on tax dollars. They have to justify why they need an increase every year. That's who's opposed to it. The vast majority of the people in the polls show they're for it. So it's only those that make money off of keeping it illegal are opposed to it. Think about that. Or keeping it from being fully respected and embraced. You know, and I just love it the way it's so obvious. But if the media does their job, we can squelch that quickly.
Well, thank you for speaking.
Thank you. Thank you for calling.